Jalisco. This Mexican federal state has two special attributes: its folklore and a drink that's known all over the world: tequila. With 1.7 million inhabitants, Guadalajara is Mexico's second largest city. The Plaza De Armas contains some fine decorative ironwork and a circular stage for musical events. The city is home to Mexican rodeos and also the famous broad-brimmed sombrero. It's also believed to be the birthplace of the world-famous mariachi music. The Tapatíos, the inhabitants of Guadalajara, unite the tempo of the city with the tranquility of the countryside. Three attempts to create a city failed due to the strong resistance of the Indios. Guadalajara was finally founded by the Spaniard Niño de Guzman in the high valley of Atamayac. Within the green gardens of the Rotunda de los Hombres Ilustres, many of Jalisco's famous writers, painters and artists are commemorated. This city of everlasting spring was a settlement with only 63 families. However, in 1542, King Carl V presented it with a town charter. Because Guadalajara was located some distance from the large mining areas, the village was quite isolated. But it soon developed into a center of trade and agriculture. Between 1760 and 1803, the city's population trebled to almost 35,000. After breaking with Spain, Guadalajara became the capital of Jalisco. At the beginning of the 20th century, it was the second largest city of the new republic. The city successfully unites its centuries-old history with modern times. Today, it's considered to be a perfect example of both modern and traditional Mexico. A colonial gem whose historic buildings and complexes have been well preserved to the present day. This is demonstrated by its numerous parks and squares, huge buildings and elegant fountains. A wall painting by José Clemente Orozco features the freedom fighter Miguel Hidalgo, who in 1810 abolished Spain's slave trade. The main street, López Mateos, leads to the Minerva Well. The daughter of the godfather Jupiter, goddess of wisdom and war, shines above the water fountain. The university dates back to the 19th century. The wall paintings were also created by Orozco. His works adorn several public buildings. A drive through the streets of this huge city gives an insight into the life of its people. The atmosphere of Guadalajara can be felt everywhere. Chapala captivates with its Mexican-American flair. This modern holiday resort is dominated by Victorian houses and splendid villas. Author D.H. Lawrence was inspired by its elegant atmosphere. During his stay here in 1923, he wrote the novel The Feathered Snake. Flowers play an important role in the life of the Mexicans. However, for the Aztecs, the blossoms of the jasmine and magnolia were considered to bring bad luck. Large houses are reminiscent of colonial times. For generations, they've been well looked after. Today, they are architectural treasures. Throughout the year, the region's climate is quite temperate. The nearby mountains make an ideal day out for the local population. In recent years, many North Americans have rented bungalows here. Some holiday here, while others have moved to Chapala for their retirement years. There are also spacious villas and estates. The landscape points to our next destination. The Lago de Chapala is Mexico's largest lake. Its 3,000-kilometre shoreline is extremely beautiful, and it also boasts several large, sandy beaches. Located some 60 kilometers from Guadalajara, this is a natural paradise for a variety of waterfowl. The lake's fish, frogs, and insects being their favorite food. Boat trips on the Lago de Chapala are very popular. The 50-meter deep lake contains the local specialty, pescado blanco. This area is ideal for hiking trips into the surrounding mountains. And for those who enjoy horse riding, the shoreline can be explored with ease. At an average temperature of around 25 Celsius, trees and bushes bloom in enchanting splendor. The flora of Mexico ranges from the hardy cactus to huge forests and delicate flowers. A journey through Jalisco is an expedition through Mexico's colonial years. Ayichic is one of the region's most outstanding colonial villages. Since the 1950s, its narrow lanes, red-roofed houses, and Church of Holy Andres have attracted many artists. In spite of Catholicism, Mexican religious belief has also engulfed the gods of various cultures. The sun has always been worshipped here. Music can be heard throughout Mexico. Since the 19th century, the country's mariachi bands have performed at festivals, wedding ceremonies, and indeed almost anywhere that involves fun and celebration. Each Thursday is market day in Tianguis. It's also when the descendants of the Nahua people who settled around Lake Chapala long before the Spaniards arrived come into the city. In Mexican culture, the market has always been an important meeting place. It's where the latest news is discussed as well as the local gossip. Several former Spanish residences have now been transformed into art galleries and shops. The famous pottery village of Tonala has retained its rural character. On Sundays, even the journey to church is a social event. The entire city seems to be going there. Various stalls have been erected around the church. There's also an assortment of fascinating craft and souvenir shops. Market day takes place on both Sundays and Thursdays. The village was once called Tonalian, or where the sun is born. It was the center of an Indian kingdom, and during pre-Spanish times was for a short time its capital. Vibrant fun and merriment are conveyed by the artist. The lovingly painted ceramic figures are full of life and vitality. Is this bunch of flowers real or made of wood? This highly detailed replica makes one think twice. When is reality transformed into illusion? And when does illusion turn to reality? These figures are known as sorrow dolls. Any sad thoughts are transferred to the doll in the hope that the doll will absorb them, thus making life a little easier. Some potters still work without a potter's wheel. The decorative rim is held by the fingers and the surface is polished before the burning process takes place. In addition to ceramics, wood is also carved here. This usually takes the form of tiny objects, but occasionally there are also life-size figures such as this sheriff. This land of cacti also features counterparts made of wood. The real plants are also processed into food and drink, and even scouring cloths. Even mild hunger can be satisfied here. And toyitos is the name of a piquant snack that is popular at various times of the day. Arts and crafts are part of daily life in Mexico. They're still made in the traditional way, although some of the old methods have united with the new. Souvenir hunters can choose from a large variety of goods, so the choice is somewhat difficult. But the luggage weight limits imposed by the airlines keep the selection within reasonable limits. Between the stalls is a small chapel. Here religion plays an important role. 96% of the country's inhabitants are Roman Catholics. Religious objects are situated next to arts and crafts. Various objects are offered to the saints in thanksgiving. These illustrations date back to the 18th century. People come here from far and wide. There's an amiable atmosphere as the market is both a shopping and social event. There's everything here from decorative masks to household goods. And with a little haggling, it's possible to pay a few less pesos. Following the Spanish conquest, many of the local arts perished, so missionary schools taught techniques such as weaving and ceramics. Mexico has more varieties of cactus than any other country. The plants have adapted to their natural environment and have retained their beautiful colors. Whether spicy or sweetened with honey, Mexican cuisine is extremely varied. The tortilla is the country's staple diet. Many of the tortilla's ingredients, such as chili, turkey and corn, were also used in pre-Columbian times. Beef, wheat, onions and garlic were introduced by the Europeans. Poultry is also for sale. As well as parrots and songbirds, almost every household possesses a bird of one kind or another. The domestic dog is very popular in Mexico, so there are usually a few cute puppies for sale. Each of them waits patiently for a new home. It's as though the entire city is one big marketplace. The Mexicans are passionate market goers, and it's possible to buy almost anything from their colorful stalls. Pastureland becomes cactus plantations. For 400 years, the people in the land of Tequila have existed from the juice of the Blue Agaves. The family company of Souza has a long history. In the past, tequila was considered to be nothing more than cheap firewater, but today it's become a popular drink throughout the world. Traditional tools have been used for generations. The Indian name for tequila means cutting stone. It originates from the sharp leaves of the agave. The Cordahina can also be seen in action. Harvesting is done in the traditional way, but the fermentation and distillation processes have been fully modernized. The single leaves are cut with a koa, a sharp knife. The work is undertaken by experts, the yimadores. The cuttings are ready to be planted. Each one is planted at a suitable distance from the other so as to maintain the maximum light for each plant. They're harvested throughout the year, but before the famous spirit can be consumed, it must first undergo some complex procedures. The plants are harvested when they're 8 or 9 years old. The piñas, the hearts of the agaves, are then ripe and contain the maximum amount of sugar. The work is difficult and dangerous. The yimadores are skillful in cutting the piña that can weigh up to 40 kilograms. Each fruit produces around 5 liters of tequila. The agaves are crushed, boiled in water, and the fibers pressed. Then follows fermentation and distillation. The leaves are cut with heavy blows, and even the most experienced yimador must be careful not to injure himself. Tequila was once frowned upon due to its destructive influence. Nevertheless, the Spaniards introduced the distillation process to Mexico, and the rest is history. So the success of the juice of the agave began with the Spanish. Today, the tequila myth of the strong, the courageous, and the proud lives on in the world of motion pictures. Here, tequila blanco is available. Its alcohol content amounts to about 46%. Each year, Mexico produces around 190 million liters. Legend has it that tequila was originally a gift from the gods. A mighty bolt of lightning struck an agave, and the resultant hot juice was considered to be a sacred drink by the Indians. Jalisco, a remarkable country that overflows with tradition, beauty, and tequila.